Over the last week, I drew YouTubers that basically I really enjoy. I haven't titled the video yet, but it's probably going to be a lot more dramatic than that, so sorry. I was a pretty chronically online kid, even before 2020, and depending on who I stayed with, I could have a gigantic screen time. It was actually a pretty diabolical 4 or 5 hours a day, even in elementary school, and when 2020 hit, it got a lot worse. I didn't have screen time or anything like that, and my mom was an essential worker, so I was entertaining myself a lot during the day, and therefore YouTube has had a big impact on me since I spent so much of my time watching it, and especially watching it while drawing. So in this video, I'm going to move from the creators who had the most recent impact me backwards from there, basically moving back through my life. I'm really excited to do this, and especially because I don't make YouTuber fan art that much. Random disclaimer, I'm obviously not going to be able to include every YouTuber. 3 people I know I'm missing are Gloom, who I've been watching since like 2016 by my estimation, LD Shadow Lady, who I've been watching for pretty much the same amount of time, and Baby Kara Art, who I started watching recently and I really like, by the way. Please go watch them if you don't know them. I'm sure there's more, so sorry I couldn't include them, but I just don't have time to make that much art. These are just the people that I either thought of first or thought of the most. I would draw it more if I had more time, but I do have other projects, and I am really lucky to then show my appreciation for these channels. Okay, Koispec was the first one. P.S. My cat is back and I am sorry if you can hear her again. Okay, I need the process to be trusted for this drawing because the sketch was honestly not up to my standards for like 80% of the process, but I think I pulled it together in the end. I used the little animating / drawing koi sprite that's in the corner of some of Koispec's videos as my reference. So I found Koispec about a year ago, and I find their style of editing so entertaining, and their characters and stories are so captivating, along with their process that they describe in their videos being super inspiring to me. In terms of why their process is inspirational to me, I think seeing someone who is independently creating animations and stories in a way that I've mostly seen large teams working on made me realize I could try to do that too. And their OC story is also just so awesome. I'm super looking forward to the release of their first Paladins comic project that they've talked about working on. And I also loved reading their Wipeout comic on Webtoons. They made me want to work on a comic really badly, which I'm allegedly working on, but if it never comes out, then I just lied and I was never working on anything, so don't actually listen to me. Another thing that I mentioned earlier was their editing style. I'm not really practiced at editing. I've mostly made short form content before, but I've always had the desire to make longer content and YouTube videos since I was really young, so I think that Koispec's videos really helped me take that final step into making that wish a reality. So I had a great time drawing the Koispec persona. I love the hoodie design, by the way, in particular. I remember watching a Koispec video with animation, I forget which one it was though, where they mentioned that the koi persona is supposed to have little eye parts that pop up with the hood. I only noticed that eyes on the spray after that, but I always thought that was such a cool detail, so I made sure to include them in my drawing. Kind of similar, I have another YouTuber that has done a ton of animation next up as well. Okay, I started watching Paper Bee about in middle school probably. If I had to be more specific, I'd say maybe around 4 years ago. But this drawing, youch. I did the initial sketch using a reference of what I'm pretty sure is Paper Bee's persona that I found on the trusty Pinterest.com. We're looking good for the sketch, but as soon as I started the line art, I was thinking this pose is not looking supernatural. So I had to really mess around with the liquify and the lasso tool to fix it, especially the arm that's towards the viewer or towards the front of the drawing. I think that the hands turned out pretty nice though. That's what we get for using a reference, because we will all be using references for the parts of art that we struggle with in the future, instead of just messing around for 2 hours and hoping we stumble into the correct form. I do hope that I didn't call anyone other than myself out by that, but Paper Bee really solidified my obsession with animation. which I hope to go into in the future, fingers crossed. Recently I made 2 stop motion films, which I can maybe make a video about if you guys are interested in a tutorial perchance. But anyways, I was super into Paper-Bee's art style and copying it, making animations in that style. Yeah, it was really foundational to my growth, and so I'd be totally remiss not to include them in this lineup. I'm also a huge fan of their OCs. I Love You, Stargirl, and Derek. I read their comic a while ago too, but I regrettably haven't kept up with it the last couple of months. So I will be getting back into it in the future, hopefully. At the time, I was also obsessed with their rendering style, which is a little odd because I really do not render like them at all now. But I guess that does kind of make sense since I don't really render that much. And their rendering style was pretty intricate, so... Also, I was obviously super excited to see them post again recently with the, I think it was Plug Me In meme remake. It also makes me want to redo some of my old animation memes that I've made in the past too, so maybe I'll be doing that sometime soon. LavenderTowne is probably the most famous YouTuber on this list, and I think also probably the art YouTuber that I've been watching for the longest time. Maybe that would exclude Jaden Animations, but I think she's more of like a storytime animation, while LavenderTowne is more of like an illustrator. So for this drawing, I used this reference of one of LavenderTowne's drawings that I already had saved to my phone, so I'm sorry, but I can't remember where it's from. The process went sort of smoothly for this drawing, at least compared to the other ones. The most major issue that I had was when I was dropping the colors, I accidentally used the line art layer instead of the color layer, and I did have to redo everything. That was unfortunate, but it is okay. It's a commonality between the last 3 YouTubers' comics, but I've also read Unfamiliar, LavenderTowne's comic. I also purchased the physical copy. I'm super happy to have it, and I have reread it. I do love comics, and LavenderTowne's writing style was really appealing to me when I first read it. I think reading it again now, I'm definitely noticing some familiarities with her writing style and Adventure Time, which I obviously really like. I mean, just look at my profile picture. In terms of her art style, I was always drawn to like the sweet but unsettling aesthetic of her channel and her drawings. I still rewatch her creepydrawstas pretty often, especially while I'm drawing or cleaning. Her colors, I think, also influence the choices I make in my drawings. I love the slightly desaturated look, and I've definitely fallen to that. Along with that, I also think I've kind of adopted the way that she drew clothing folds. Obviously, there are some more similarities between my style and hers that I'm not mentioning, and I think probably that I'm not noticing either, because I definitely used a ton of her drawing tutorials when I was a complete newbie. She also influenced me to draw a ton more than I would have otherwise, specifically with her series of turning things into character designs. I remember one time I must have made like 15 drawings in a day. I drew for 8 hours trying to make characters based off different objects in my room. I also watched her most recent video as of writing this, where she redid her VTuber, and I really liked it, but I definitely don't think I'd make one myself anytime soon, because that medium looks scary as hell. Okay, this one might seem kind of random to you guys, it might be like a deep cut, but oh well. It doesn't fit in with the rest of the channels on the list because she's not an art YouTuber, but there is a reason that this channel is in here. Although I don't really watch it anymore, this might be the first YouTuber I ever really watched, like, religiously. I started watching this channel about 10 years ago, which really freaked me out to realize. I remember as a kid watching the Green Legacy every day and tuning into the Animal Crossing live streams in 2020. Obviously, zoo crafting also. I was so into so many of her series. I think that, like, the messages behind this content was kind of genuinely important to me as a kid. Obviously, you can tell I was affected by the channel by how much green I use in my videos and in my, like, art direction for my persona now. But to me, the message of all the videos that this channel had was tied back to seeing the beauty in everything in the world that we live in, and I really think that's a really incredible message. So I'm really glad that that's what I was exposed to as a kid, especially with all the kind of like brain-rotted content that's really popular right now. So for the drawing, I checked the Siri Pixel Biologist channel and used the Siri persona design in the profile picture that's updated for right now. I also featured Clover. I saw the update video from last year where the guinea pig was mentioned, such a cutie, and I felt it would be really nice to include the little guy. I am just really glad I got to draw this one because wanting to make fan art for the series on this channel was seriously what got me into drawing at all. It never saw social media and it never will, but like that art was just super fun and fulfilling to make at the time. The process felt like the best part to me back then, as well as just being able to express that I really cared about something. And that's just kind of the approach that I want to keep applying to my art now, so. Making the fan art that I did for this video was actually so fun, and I don't know how to describe it. I just had a great time, and it felt really good to create something that was, like, appreciative. I usually only draw fan art for shows, so I'm happy to diversify that a little bit, and I hope you liked it, so bye bye.